Welcome to the 343rd Commencement exercises at Harvard University. These festival rites held again in the venerable precincts of the Tercentenary Theater in Cambridge, Massachusetts. I'm Dudley Hirschbach, and with me again this year, for the first time in fact, Diana Eck, Professor of Comparative Religion and Indian Studies.
I think only at Harvard, Dudley, do we have a professor of chemistry and a Nobel laureate at that, sitting at ringside here with a historian of religion. My field primarily is, as you know, the study of India and the religious traditions of India, but also the study of ritual and of religion in general and cultural events like these festival rites.
Indeed. My impression is somehow it's a little calmer than usual, but part of the charm of the festival rites at Harvard is the blend of dignity and tradition with just simple fun.
It really is. It is a great academic festival. Every seat in this Tercentenary Theater has a program on it that describes what is called these festival rites, and it is a combination of a solemn occasion with a festival, in the sense that it's not just this event this morning that is the Harvard commencement, though this is perhaps the most formal part of it, but a whole week of celebrations.
Yeah, the alumni come for reunions all the way up to the 75th reunion class, and there have been a total of 170 events, many symposia, concerts, clam bakes, all kinds of things. An incredibly rich, lively week.
It is that special combination of a kind of rite of passage, you might say, a very important ritual for those who are commencing, who are graduating, the seniors and all of the many graduates today of the various schools. I think there are something like 5,927 diplomas to be awarded today in the various schools this afternoon when the diplomas are actually handed out. But it's not just this ceremony, it also is this whole ingathering of reunion classes, 25th reunion, 35th, the 50th, ingathering of alumni to form, you might say, the body of the great group of Harvard graduates into which these seniors today are graduating and being incorporated.
It's in the words of the Harvard hymn, which was composed for the bicentennial of Harvard in 1836 by Reverend Samuel Gilman. It's from the age that is past to the age that is waiting before.
Well, and it's interesting that you quote that line, Dudley, because it really is a sense of being here in that interim space between the age that is past and the age that is waiting before. Harvard has changed so much in the last 20 years, especially the last 20 years, to become truly a world university with many, many students from all over the world, but also an increasing diversity of American students with the new immigration since 1965. Many, many Asian Americans, South Asian Americans. And I think a good example of that would be at yesterday's baccalaureate, when there were readings in Hebrew from the Hebrew Bible and from the New Testament, but also a reading in Arabic from the Quran and a reading in Sanskrit from the Vedas and the Upanishads. Now that's a different Harvard than many people remember, especially those who are coming back for their 50th reunion, say. So it's the age that is waiting before.
I understand that among our student body we have people who speak 90 different languages.
Really?
Yeah. We have a good view of the theater here. That elegant name, of course, pertains to the celebration of the tricentennial of Harvard, when this area, this lovely amphitheater, was named Tercentenary Theater. We might sort of outline what the agenda is. The seniors have emerged from chapel, which is always very memorable. Peter Gomes sends them off with a great sermon. That's a tradition. The procession starts, it in fact started about 10 minutes ago after the ringing of the Memorial Hall bell, a big 5-ton bell that peals out solemnly over the yard. One of the parts of this that I find most touching is the students, the young students, process in the old yard through lines of alumni and graduates. One of them is Mr. Frederick Crawford, 103 years old, class of 1913. And then, of course, the further parts of the procession include the President's Party, which will have the honored guest and many officials of the university, faculty, overseers. We may glimpse some of them now, I think.
I think we probably just did have a glimpse of Al Gore.
Uh-huh.
We will have a couple of guests that we'll interview and talk to as the moments before the beginning of the exercises. And I think the first is David Liu, who's coming up the ladder into our treehouse here at the moment.
And it's very appropriate. David should be our first guest. He's graduating first in his class at Harvard.
David, that was very impressive to sit in the faculty meeting the other night and see your name on top of that Summa stack with a grade record flawed by only 1 A-.
Right.
What did you get that one in?
That was in molecular biology. And biosciences 10.
It's a notorious course that I think gives only 6 A's in a very large class.
There were 3 A's my semester.
I see. Well, people will be able to joke about that for a long time because you've had a sensational academic career both before and on your way to Harvard.
Thank you.
I think our audience might be interested to know how it is that you decided to come to Harvard.
That's a good question. I think I tossed a coin at the end. It's a tough choice, as most people are aware of, and I think the prestige was a factor certainly, and the quality of the education was a factor, and I think those two things are really what make most people decide to come here. And the U.S. News and World Reports don't hurt either.
Sure. You did have a family connection. Your mother, I understand,
a very loose family connection, right? My mother was a postdoc here in physics a while ago.
And she's now a professor of physics at University of California, Riverside.
That's correct, right.
What's next for you, David?
I'll be attending graduate school at UC Berkeley in the next year, and hopefully I'll finish with a PhD within 5 or so years.
That's great.
I suspect it may be shorter. In any case, you already have done some quite significant research as an undergraduate, and you got launched in that in an interesting way.
Right. Right. I was really fortunate to join the Corey group, E.J. Corey's group in chemistry as a freshman, or at the end of my freshman year, and his guidance has really been phenomenal, and my experience in his labs has been something, perhaps the most valuable experience that I've had here.
And how did you get this opportunity to undertake research already in your freshman year?
It was sort of a very fortunate, almost an accident. As a result of a competition in my senior year of high school, I had the opportunity of attending the Nobel Prize ceremonies in Stockholm, Sweden, the year that he received his Nobel Prize in chemistry in 1990. And I remember I had a midterm in chemistry a week after that ceremony, and the midterm, being in organic chemistry, provided me with some questions which I thought would be appropriate to ask Professor Corey since he was at the Nobel Prize ceremonies. And so I remember asking him some in retrospect, very naive questions, and then coming back to Harvard and asking if I could join his research group.
In addition to all your stellar work and your courses and this research, you did lots of other things as an undergraduate. Debate team and service projects. I would think that some prospective students who might be listening to this program wonder if you have any advice how to manage to do so many things.
My advice?
As an undergraduate?
Buy low, sell high. No. I think I really went through a transformation over the 4 years, and my first 2 years I was pretty serious into the academic aspect of life here, and then the last 2 years I've really sort of let myself loose a little bit and relaxed a lot more and enjoyed some of the other activities, the hand program and some of the other clubs around Harvard, and those experiences have definitely proved to be as enriching as the classes which I took so seriously before. So I really think that it's worthwhile to be a serious student initially. It's also worthwhile to explore other activities as you mature through the 4 years here.
As someone who teaches freshman chemistry, I think I'll show this little clip to my class next fall. It's excellent advice.
Thank you.
David, wonderful to talk with you this morning.
We will let you make your way back to the Courier House group.
Right. I'll have
right.
to find my way through the sea of chaos here.
Congratulate you on a splendid performance. And
Thank you.
in particular, your latest academic award, the Sophia Freund Award, to the top graduating senior.
And a Hoops Prize
Thank
as
you.
well.
Prize as well.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Dudley, we've just seen the beginning of the President's Division arrive on the stage. That division, as you know, is led by the sheriff, this year not the sheriff of Middlesex County, but the sheriff of Suffolk County, Robert
Mr.
Rufo.
Yes.
And then President Rudenstein, who is escorted by the Marshal Rick Hunt, followed by the members of the corporation, the 6 powerful men who are members of what is said to be the oldest corporation in the Western Hemisphere, and followed by the Honorable and Reverend Board of Overseers, of whom there are 30
We see
elected
Vice
for a
President Gore,
6-year
excuse
term.
me, yes.
And here we see one of the honorands, Vice President Gore, being escorted into the Tercentenary Theater.
He will give a speech to the alumni meeting in the Alumni Association this afternoon. The newspapers all mention him, as they ordinarily do, as the commencement speaker. But in fact, for me, one of the nicest aspects of the Harvard tradition is that as students who actually
That's right.
speak at these morning exercises are honored guests, such as Vice President Gore speaks in the afternoon to what is actually a meeting of the Alumni
Of the Alumni
Association.
Association. There's Al Gore again making his way down the aisle, greeted on both sides by handshakes and cheers. Al Gore is, of course, here also for his 25th reunion. He was in the class of 1969 that is having its reunion today. I think we see John Kenneth Galbraith there on the
Yes, he's
screen in
Unmistakable landmark.
one of the white robes that he got probably from one of the universities in India, but he
Yes.
has innumerable honorary degrees, and he'll be sitting on the platform today as well.
One of the most familiar figures for many years. Still, things seem rather calm compared with some occasions in the past. For instance, in 1797, the commencement exercises included a live elephant, 2-headed calves, an archery contest between the Indians of Natick and Harvard students. The Indians won.
Well, and there always is both a disruptive aspect of some of these occasions as well, and I don't think we're going to see any protests over any issues, not that I know of this year, but there certainly have been in the past. We have another guest that is with us, Deborah Evans, who is going to climb up the ladder in just a moment. Deborah is from Harvard Divinity School and will be getting a Master's of Theological Studies today.
Congratulations on your Masters of Theological Studies. You're a little closer to heaven once you've gone up in what we like to call a tree house here. Actually, a little house on stilts.
Deborah, this is your second Harvard commencement.
Yes,
Tell
it
us
is.
about your first one.
Well, I graduated from Harvard Business School in 1991, and that was a really special occasion, but my interest led me to Harvard Divinity School a year later, after doing research at the business school for 1 year. So I've had a chance over the past few years to combine business and religion.
And what are the links that you see? Most people don't see business and religion
That's
going
right.
together so well, and it's very unusual to have a divinity degree and a business degree.
That's true. Well, I see, when I look at inner city areas in America and look at the revitalization of the black community, when I look at economic issues, I can't separate them from the spiritual issues that also are facing African Americans and Hispanic Americans in inner city areas. So it's my belief that if we're truly going to revitalize urban America, it's going to have to be done on the business front and on a religious front.
Deborah,
Yes.
you and others in the Divinity School put on a conference this year that I think made quite a beginning on that road. Tell us a little bit about it.
It's in April.
Yes, it was in April. The name of the conference, or the theme, was The Black Church's Economic Responsibility for a New Urban Agenda. And what we did, we brought about 400 pastors, business leaders, politicians together to discuss how the black church can become more involved in revitalizing inner city areas. And that's by starting businesses, supporting businesses, housing development, looking at how churches can develop credit unions and community development corporations. So it was a really special 3-day event for us at the Divinity School and across the campus as a whole.
It's very exciting.
It strikes me this is a wonderful effort and consistent with what I understand people in government talk about a lot now. I mean, government scholars,
Yes.
not politicians. Social capital.
You know,
Social capital is something really tangible and valuable.
that's true. And one of the beautiful things about today is that it's the next step for me to move into my doctoral work. I was recently accepted into the PhD program here. And my doctoral degree will combine religion and government. Well, it's between the Divinity School and the Kennedy School of Government, and looking at black church economic development. So I think it gives me the chance to sort of bring all of these areas together into an interdisciplinary approach to looking at economic development.
Deborah, is your son here today somewhere? Do you have any idea where?
Well, my son is at school. Yes, he's at school. He thought he was going to be here, and he really wanted to be. But he does have school today.
And
But,
he is how old?
He's 11, and he's here with me in heart.
That's great.
Well, we will be able to give you a videotape that includes this interview. So
Wonderful.
you will see that.
Your
too.
son can see it. He can have a ringside seat.
All right, can I say hi to my mother and father
Please
in
do.
By all
Oakland,
means.
California? Hello, Mom and Dad. Thanks for everything. I love you.
Thank you.
Bye, Deborah.
Okay.
Congratulations. For all of these students, this is, as I mentioned earlier, Dudley, a real rite of passage. And as anthropologists will often tell us, rites of passage involve 3 distinctive steps. There are rites of separation,
Yes.
where one finally says those farewells to people you've been with for a long time. Rites of transition, and of course the greatest rites of transition are these processions that we're seeing. Processions are archetypal rites of transition, and Commencement Day is full of processions of seniors to the baccalaureate, processions of seniors to the chapel this morning, led by the bagpipes, and now this procession of seniors from the old yard here into the Tercentenary Theater to take their seats. And then finally, having done the transition, there are rites of incorporation, being incorporated into the new status. And of course, there are many of those kinds of rites. Maybe the best rites of incorporation are feasts, where you actually eat with everybody. But here, maybe the first major one is the speech act of being conferred a degree, which is done at this morning ceremony, not by handing out a diploma, but by what we would call a speech act of the president,
A
conferring
benediction.
upon people.
Yes. That's right.
In fact, there were no actual diplomas for many, many years at Harvard. You could pay for a written diploma if you wanted one, but you were considered to be graduated if, when the president conferred upon the class their respective degree. And we'll hear the ways in which that is done verbally this morning by President Rudenstein.
Well, in fact, up until after the Civil War, advanced degrees were obtained by staying out of jail for 3 years and paying $5. That would get you
We'd
a
get
law degree
people-
or a medical degree.
Get everybody through much quicker that way. Or maybe we would, I don't know.
Well, you mentioned feast as an important part of these rituals, and there's plenty of feasting that goes on right after these morning exercises. The students, of course, all go off to their houses where there are individual commencement exercises in each house. That's where they'll actually receive their diplomas from their housemasters. And likewise, the various graduate schools go off to special locations for special ceremonies. Then comes the feasting. The largest such feast is held here over in the old yard and hosted by the 25th reunion class. And there'll be 14,000 people eating.
Oh, my heavens.
I always like to recite some of the numbers.
Give us the numbers. How
They
many?
consume 2 tons of beef and 2 tons of poultry, 2 tons of vegetables, a ton of bacon, ham, sausage, and veal, 1,400 pounds of salmon, 500 pounds of shrimp, 480 pounds of asparagus, 800 gallons of orange juice, lots of other unspecified beverages. It's really
And literally every square foot of available space in
Incredible scene.
all of the yards of the large and diverse campus of Harvard are filled with striped awnings, green and white striped awnings, yellow and white striped awnings and tents to host these many spreads, as they're called.
Yes, and spreads require places for people to sit. And during this commencement week, with all the reunion activities and these different sub-commencements elsewhere, Harvard winds up renting every available rental chair in New England, a total of 70,000.
My heavens. Even here in the Tercentenary Theater, there's something like 20,000 chairs, and
That's
not
right.
everyone has a seat either.
That's right. There'll be roughly 27,000 people crowded in this little amphitheater. 3,000 or 4,000 will be strolling around.
One of the most interesting things about this gathering in the Tercentenary Theater is that this is really the only time that the university as a whole gathers in this ritual space. And on the second Thursday in June every year, this part of Harvard Yard changes its name, and all the tickets read Tercentenary Theater, etc. It's a meeting of people, but of course more than that, it is also a meeting through time. When the 300th anniversary festivities ended in the year 1936, they adjourned until the year 2036, and that was the adjourning motion. The meeting will adjourn until 2036, an astounding projection of a community forward into time.
Well, of course, we did celebrate the 350th.
Yeah, they didn't
right?
count on that at the time. The 350th, of course, is the time at which all of these splendid banners that now decorate the yard were hung for the first time. That was in 1986.
Each house has its own coat of arms displayed in the banner, and all of the graduate schools likewise have devised their own arms for the occasion display. And this, of course, the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences, Business Administration, Dental Medicine, Design, the Divinity School, School of Education, the John Kennedy School of Government, Law School, Medical School, School of Public Health, University Extension School. All of those are parts of this great Harvard empire. I think, Diane, that Emily Vermeulen may have arrived. We like to always interview a graduating professor, so to speak, as well. Emily is becoming emeritus this year. And, she is accustomed to climbing up this ladder to a treehouse because, as many of our listeners know, for 13 years or so, she was the TV commentator.
She was sitting where I am today.
So here comes Emily.
Emily, this is a familiar post for you up here. Do you miss your commentarial role this morning?
I'm so glad to give it to you, Diana. Nothing makes me happier than to see you and Dudley up here smiling together.
Yeah.
It's a gorgeous sight. You can see you're like a beacon from way over there.
Oh, gosh.
It's really the best seat in the house. We get to see everything that's down before us, and also what the viewers see at home on the monitors. We have the best of both views of these.
Well,
rides.
I want to wish you a very happy future in this good job.
It's been great fun. And let me offer my congratulations for having a chance to do yet in the Phi Beta Kappa Teaching Award. You
Oh,
received
that was
yesterday.
very special. The students wrote it in such a way. It had nothing to do with me. It's the way the students wrote.
Well.
But you may congratulate me on my retirement. I'm very happy to be retiring.
Which is for the purpose of having more time to work.
To learn more about dolphins, as you have begun to teach us.
Oh, I see. I
Yeah.
see. Well,
Thank you both.
Emily, you came in 1969?
In the spring of 69.
In the spring of 69, so you really came at the time this 25th reunion
Oh,
class
unforgettable.
graduated. Must have been an
Unforgettable.
unforgettable time.
what a beginning.
Blood in the bushes all over the steps of University Hall. You remember.
Oh, yeah.
Boy, it isn't forgettable.
And were you here at that commencement in 1969
Yes.
as well? Because that was the one, as I recall, it would have been the one that was disrupted by one of the SDS students coming up and grabbing the mic. during
Tried
the-
hard, but the students didn't really want to be disrupted. Do you remember?
Yeah.
They didn't really want to have a riot.
It was clear the message, I think, came through.
Yeah. You know, the students that spring were boycotting the classrooms, but they didn't want to miss their classes, so everybody met on the grass all spring. It was very, not hypocritical, but a nice double standard. Protest, but work.
Emily, when you first came on the faculty, you were one of the very few tenured women professors.
I was it.
You
I
were
was
it.
the one.
You were the one.
In fact, there had been only one before you, Cecilia Payne-Gaposchkin, appointed in 1955.
Astronomy,
That's
and
right.
then the other holders of the Radcliffe Chair, Helen Maud Cam and Cora Dubois, were ahead of me.
Aha. You've had the span of 25 years here. Do you have any reflections on the transformations you've witnessed?
I don't know about transformations because Harvard changes with every incoming class and every outgoing class, but I will say there's no institution where you could meet more interesting or talented people. I don't believe there's an institution in the world that collects more interesting people about itself.
I certainly believe that myself, and we have one of them with us right here.
Sweetheart.
A very distinguished scholar. I mean, I enjoy, for instance, just to mention one lovely piece of yours, the paper on Homer and Jefferson, which you gave at the American Philosophical Society last spring.
That was funny, wasn't it?
So in addition to your scholarship, to your distinguished teaching, however, you have many other dimensions, and one of them, you're famous as a Red Sox fan. I thought our audience
Everyone
might
secretly
like to hear
suspects that you're retiring so that you can go to more Red Sox
some
games.
of your
Bat boy.
reflections connecting the saga of the Red Sox with the Greek tragedies.
Well, that's really why I'm retiring. I have to spend more time on the Red Sox. They shouldn't be allowed to upset us as much as they do.
But I think it might help quite a few of our listeners if you gave them that perspective. Maybe you tell us just a bit about how you connect with the Greek tragedies.
Oh, it's because you can't be a hero unless you're dead. It's one of the rules of the game. So the Red Sox die every fall and therefore achieve heroic status because they tried hard.
Aha. So that
And they gave up their life for it.
Yeah.
It just wasn't good enough.
That's more noble than winning the World Series.
I think so, sure.
Gee,
Sure.
that does give you a whole new way of looking at it.
Tragic stature.
Emily,
So I
thank
wish
you.
both of you
Yes.
the very best of luck.
And to you.
And what a
I mean,
gorgeous day.
Yes,
It really is a
splendid.
glorious day.
It is
Thank you.
absolutely splendid. So, once more down that rickety ladder, Emily. Thank you.
Some of our seniors greeting one another. I think there are something like 78 Sumas in this class. They are seated in the front of the row of seniors. They are more or less the class representatives, and they are the ones who, along with the class marshals, will come forward at the time of the awarding of the A.B. degrees. They'll come forward and stand on the platform and receive a handshake from President Lyndon Wilson, President Neil Rudenstein.
Just before we start, it might be well to remind people how things began. The first commencement was in 1642 and had only 9 commencers, 20 people in the audience. Each of the commencers had to deliver an oration, either in Hebrew, Greek, or Latin. Afterwards, there was a feast and so on. And also an afternoon disputations in Latin.
So they actually had to defend themselves those days from the questions of the faculty.
But most people have no idea, seeing the size of things now, that, say, up until, as I say, the Civil War time, Harvard was a small place. For example, Emerson graduated in 1821 in a class of 59. Incidentally, he was 30th in his class, so was not elected to Phi Beta Kappa. He was class poet, but only because 6 other people turned it down first.
Dudley, where did you learn this? This is very
Little
interesting.
tidbits you pick up along the way.
We should actually mention, just in passing, though, that the Phi Beta Kappa exercises yesterday, the day before, that the orator this year was Madeleine Albright,
Yes.
Ambassador to the United Nations, and the poet this year was Allen Ginsberg.
Yes.
And that was also a wonderful,
terrific.
wonderful event. I had the privilege of sitting next to Allen Ginsberg at a dinner the night before and talking about all of the gurus of the 70s we had known. It was
Well, certainly back then he never imagined he'd be taking part in something like that here.
But it certainly is an expansion of size, even since Emerson's day. We see a couple of the marshals walking down the central aisle as if to announce to Rick Hunt, the university marshal, that the audience is seated, and there is Richard Hunt, the chief protocol officer of the university marshal. Behind him, Neil Rudenstein.
There he gives a signal, and we should hear the bell.
Linda Wilson. The chair in which Rudenstein sits is also 17th century.
The mighty bell, 5-ton bell.
Mr. Sheriff, pray give us order.
Robert Rufo, Sheriff of Suffolk County.
The meeting will be in order.
That's what I mean by this blend of dignity with irreverence. It's so special.
The chaplain of the day will open the exercises with prayer. Let us pray for the class of 1994 and for all of us gathered to celebrate their lives and accomplishments. God of truth, teach us to embrace the truth which makes us free. Direct the lives of this class in the way of truth, that they may know what is good and right and do it faithfully. God of wisdom, endow us with the wisdom which transforms knowledge into practical commitment. May this class join wisdom and knowledge in lives and careers which enhance the human life of others. God of justice, call us to generous lives which are expended in support of the vulnerable and the forgotten. Endow this class with the courage and conviction needed to serve and stand with those who bear the burden of injustice. God of peace, grant us your peace in our hearts and in our world, so that we may be free to build relationships of love and justice. May this class know your peace as a gift in their lives and carry your peace into the lives of others. All this we ask in faith and trust. Amen.
Brian Hare is both at St. Paul's Church in Cambridge and a professor of ethics at Harvard Divinity School.
Latin salutatory, ignorantium celebrare. Christopher Paul Scully, candidate for degree of Bachelor of Arts.
Salvete, prizes Rudenstine, prizes Vicarie Gore, et praesentes cateri. Si huic convocationi mei socii, ad sit hospes quida, si ad vena ignarus morum consuetudinisque nostrae, si vero, Johannes Harvad ipse, excede metallic exorgens rede vivus, certe confusi sint animi. Haec scilicet miretur noster conditor, cor in hoc die luci dapricoque, re universitatis intermissa, omnes una congregati sint, cor magna caterva, cor uinus ille pulcherimus, barbara lingua loquitur, quo postremo, he quirites, omnes Harvadian et Redcliffiensis, clarab diligentiam et gravitatem, tam laeti sunt. Hoc etiam miretur noster conditor, cor diebus ex omnibus hodie, ante diem quintum idus junias, congregati sunt. Hodie Jovis dies est, clarus habetur ob regnatorem caelestium, ob ultimam canam domini nostri, ob Simpsones et Seinfeldensem. Nec non miretur, cor haec fiant nono die mensis, qui numerus clarus est ob novem judices judicii supremi, ob sig ninsignitin tergum thadii gildiumorum, optimi gladiatoris pessimae partis, et ob novem denique vitas soculi, aeluri celeberrimi domus albae. Omit explicationem huius mensis, unium dico, hoc omito quod time iram deae, tantae nanimis caelestibus irae, quamquam non bene dies delectus est, causa tamen omnibus clarissimast, causa est celebratio. Hic congregati sumus, ut finem cursus incepta hinc quatuor annos celebremus. Mos, enim idem, qui nos canis umbratilibus aut caelibibus conviviis frui iubet, nos hodie quoque gubernat, quamquam hic solemnis dies lenior quam illi videntur, tamen tumultuosus est, multae leges academicae nunc violantur, discipuli non student, professores operam nullam exigunt, hic ritus praeterea tempesti vincipit, non postorum temporis momenti septem. Hodie igitur celebramus quadriennium praeceptorum scientiaeque continue devoratae, sed cor haec eruditio quatuor per annos perduravit, nonne multis ex causis, quid quarta nom Olympias agitur, quadriennio noster prizes moderator, aqua ian ut aqua candid absentibus, quadriennio rostra buffalonensia, collegii Americanae pilae pedalis victores extiterunt, sed how frustra. Profecto, hoc spatiad multas res gravissimas bene accommodator, non solad res extracurricularias gustandas, sed etiam res academicas suscipiendas. Vel mathematicam, vel scientiam vitae, vel chemiam, vel historiam, vel philosophiam, vel linguam latinam. Sed ex his et aliis disciplinis nulla quadriennio perdisci potest, non etiam haec ultima cum plerique conemur. Quae cum ita sint nostra praecepta fine hodierno terminantur, nam maximis documentis nobis discendumst, quantul in quatuoranis cognoverimus. Discipulis quidem hodie gradum susceptoris valida curiositas, potius quam immutabilis eruditio habendast, fater ignorantiam, et amplecti curiositatem, bonum et decorumst, sic faciendo, non solum fines nostros noscimus, sed etiam discero ficies omnita taptum meminerimus. Hodie, re vera, non quae nobis iam scita, sed quad huc inscita sunt celebramus. Non cognitionem scientiae, sed terminorum. Non denique finem eruditionis, sed initium. In tal ignoranti est, magna sapientia. Valete!
Senior English Address. Be something, do something. Michelle Dion Taylor, candidate for degree of Bachelor of Arts.
President Rudenstein, Vice President Gore, graduates, friends, and family, especially my family, who did not know I was going to do this. Today, I'm overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed because I'm graduating from college when kindergarten seemed like yesterday. I'm overwhelmed because I've finally reached the stage in my life that I'm about to begin my career. I'm overwhelmed because I've met so many fascinating people here, learned so many things, completed so many problem sets, labs, papers, exams, and even survived the absolutely delectable cuisine offered here at Harvard and Radcliffe. I'm sure that this time is as amazing for you as it is for me, not only for the reasons I have mentioned, but also because we have received the priceless gift of a higher education. I'm sure you know that your higher education is a treasure that does not lose its value. It will create opportunities for you that many people can only dream of. With your education, you can change the world and make it a better place. The saying, ipsa scientia potesta est, is one of the few things that I remember from high school Latin. It means knowledge itself is power. This is true, but the knowledge we have gained here is only as valuable as our courage to apply it. As graduates, you will have to decide if you will share in the gift that you have received. Sitting beside you are people who can, and I hope one day will, make great changes in our world. Some of us will be in Washington, someday passing legislation that will make higher education more accessible to more people in this country. Some of us will be teachers and give our students the support teachers who will give our students the support that we received so we could be here. Some of us will be physicians. Physicians who will care for the sick, including those who cannot afford care. And some of us will be lawyers. Lawyers who may even take on cases pro bono so that justice and not merely the law shall be served. Whether you are a big sibling, a Little League coach, a Sunday school teacher, an advisor, or the voice for someone who normally goes unheard, I encourage you to do something. Be something. In my freshman year, I volunteered in a public service program that served a needy area in Boston. The kids in this program had to contend with drug pushers, violence, murder, and poverty daily, while their families tried to create a safer, positive environment for them to grow up in. One day, a 7-year-old named Lewis came up to me and said, "Michelle, when I grow up, I want to go to Harvard, just like you." I believe that Lewis can attend Harvard one day and realize that the hard environment that he now lives in does not have to be permanent if he receives the support from people like us, people who will share in the gift of their education. Some of you may be wondering why I called our college degree a gift, considering that you, your friends, and your family have spent so much money, time, and perhaps blood, toil, tears, and sweat to get it. But many of you should remember the Honor Society motto, "Hold high the torch of truth and knowledge." You did not light its glow. It was given to you by others, but it is your responsibility to keep it burning bright. Indeed, the educational process is not an independent endeavor. I'd like you to reflect for a moment on all the people that helped to bring you to the place where you are now. The sister who taught you how to spell, the brother who helped you with your science homework, the next-door neighbor who helped to teach you how to ride a bike. Years later, when you're in college, these people were still there for you, providing you with a prayer, a care package, a surprise phone call just to say hello, and constant reminders to eat your vegetables. These people brought you to this place, they helped you to survive it, and they will contribute to your future. Now think about the lessons that you learned here, the friendships with your classmates, writing home and realizing what a distinct environment we have here, your relations with the Harvard community and its large array of socioeconomic classes, cultures, and attitudes. All of these, whether or not it is clear to you, have profited us and have contributed to this great gift. I'm sure that you share in my sentiment when I say, to all these people and the lessons that they taught me, including some lessons that I did not want to learn, I am eternally grateful. You may have noticed that I have not made any direct suggestions as to how you can use your gift of higher education to make this world a better place. You must make that decision. I hope you realize that the task before you won't be easy. As a great person once said, well, I don't know who originally said it, so I'll give the credit to my mom. That which is easy is seldom great. I hope that all of you share in your wealth. This may cause a lot of personal conflict in a seemingly selfish world. Nonetheless, I ask you to do it. Your attention and time can be more valuable than you realize and can inspire someone like Lewis to reach for the stars. Realize that your efforts may not have immediate effects, but as with any gift, your job is to give and not expect returns. Just hope that they will happen. Thank everyone that has brought you to this place. given you this gift. Continue to give the gift of education to someone else. Be something. Do something. Congratulations, everyone.
Graduate English address. The next goal, Robert Harry Greenstein Rader, candidate for degree of Doctor of Laws.
We did it! After all the hard work and all the sacrifices, we've achieved our goal. Mission accomplished! Now, it's Miller time! Here we are at commencement, when we gather together to congratulate ourselves on achieving our goals. Our shared goal of graduating. To paraphrase the talking heads, how did we get here? We sacrificed. We worked hard. We studied. We pulled all-nighters. We came, we saw, we highlighted. SATs, ACTs, GREs, MCATs, LSATs, GMATs, JFK, MLK, LBJ, OCS. But all that work had a purpose because we had a goal. We deferred gratification. We didn't go to all the parties. We didn't hang out for pizza and beer. We didn't watch television. Okay, we didn't watch all the television we could have. In the end, though, it paid off because we had a goal. Now we're here, all of us who attained our goals. And the question is, what do we do next? I mean, after lunch. Well, now we're supposed to set our sights on the next goal, the next objective. And so we prepare to climb the next mountain and plant our flag on the summit. I have a confession to make. I have doubts about the next goal. Sir Edmund Hillary said he climbed Mount Everest because it was there. Is that enough? Can I commit my life to achieving things because they're there? Just because society builds mountains for us, does that mean we should climb them? Because even if we do succeed, what have we succeeded at? Will our lives consist of jumping through one hoop after another? How many hoops are there? Achieve this, accomplish that. When does it end? Where do all these accomplishments get us? What if we go to Wall Street, or Hollywood, or even Washington, D.C.? What if we get the residency we want, or become an associate at a prestigious firm? What if we go to the right graduate school? What next? After we climb the mountain, will the view from the top be worth it? Or are we too busy climbing to even think about what happens when we reach the top? What if there is no top? Can I take an elevator? Look, I'm not advocating sitting around introspecting all the time like characters in a bad French film. But it's important on this day to question not only what we're doing, but why we're doing it. Whose dream are we living? Ours? Our families? Our societies? After all, what are goals? Groucho Marx said, "You've got a goal, I've got a goal, now all we need is a football team." My family and friends have told me a zillion times, "Rob, you're the most goal-oriented person we know," which they generally mean as a compliment. Yet, sometimes this fixation, this obsession with achievement frightens me. Sure, it's gotten me here, can't deny that. If I ever do end up making a living, implausible though that must seem to most of you at this moment, I'll have my ability to work and sacrifice for my goals to thank for it. But this ability has also robbed me of so many opportunities to enjoy myself without worrying whether I was getting things done. How have I controlled myself? Let me count the ways. Constantly writing lists of things to do, frantically checking my watch, obsessively calling up my voicemail. Now I even own the ultimate tool to control my life, calendar date book. See? June 9th, 10:20, give graduation speech. 10:25, receive crowd's adulation. Thank you, thank you. You call that adulation? But if we spend all our time controlling ourselves in order to achieve our goals, when will we have truly lived? How can you stop and smell the roses when you're already eyeing the orchids farther down, and when you're planning on visiting the azaleas across the street? My tunnel vision on achievement has done a lot for me. It's a part of me. I couldn't get rid of it even if I tried. But it can't be all of me, because I am more than my goals. I am not just my resume. I know what I'm saying is anathema to this institution. At Harvard, virtue is defined by achievement. That's the gospel according to John Harvard. Thank you, Pilgrim Fathers. But the problem we face is not working for our goals, but escaping from them. We're people, not goals. We must build lives that include accomplishment, but are not defined exclusively by accomplishment. How do we free ourselves from this tyranny of achievement? I'm the last person to ask. Last month, I sat indoors typing away on this speech when it was as day and nice as today. But here I am giving it. Yet another goal achieved on this day to celebrate achieving our goals. Maybe we don't have to make every moment of our time productive. Instead of a lifetime of narrowly focusing on goal after goal, gradually losing our zest, our spontaneity, maybe we can enjoy the ride. Instead of constantly charting our course, maybe we can hang 10 on the waves of time. Yes, the fear of wasting my time, my ability, my life haunts me, as it haunts you. The only way to conquer this fear, however, is to do what we find most difficult. Relax. Enjoy. Savor the moment. In the movie Stripes, there's a line that's good advice for everyone here. Lighten up, Francis. And that's what we should all do. I'm saying, lighten up, Harvard. Along the same lines, Ralph Waldo Emerson, a famously goal-oriented graduate of this university, wrote, "To be yourself in a world that's constantly trying to make you into something else, that is the greatest achievement of all." But will we realize this achievement? Can we learn to define ourselves without falling back on our accomplishments? Can we just be and not always do? Finally, can we be more than our resumes? That is our next goal.
These addresses by selected candidates for ordinary degrees being ended, the deans of the several departments will now present to the President and Fellows and to the Board of Overseers, in the favoring presence of the friends here assembled, the candidates on whom the various academic distinctions are, with due ceremony, to be conferred. The Dean of the Faculty of Arts and Sciences.
Mr. President, Fellows of Harvard College, Mr. President and members of the Board of Overseers, in the name of the Faculty of Arts and Sciences and by its authority, I have the honor to report on 4 groups of candidates who will be presented to you today. The first will come the candidates for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy. Next, the candidates for the degrees of Master of Arts, of Science, of Engineering, and of Forest Science will be presented. Third will come the candidates for the degrees of Associate in Arts, Bachelor of Liberal Arts, and Master of Liberal Arts in Extension Studies. Finally, near the close of the exercises, the seniors in Harvard College and Radcliffe College, who are candidates for the first degree in arts or in science, will come before you. The candidates in each of these groups have, by vote of the faculty, fulfilled the requirements for the degrees for which they are severally recommended. I applaud all of these men and women and wish them well in all that lies before them. They will now be introduced to you by the deans responsible for the programs in which they are enrolled.
Candidates for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy will rise. The Dean of the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences.
Mr. President, Fellows of Harvard College, Mr. President and members of the Board of Overseers. As Dean of the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences, I have the honor to present to you these scholars, all of whom have devoted themselves to the rigorous pursuit of advanced study, have attained high distinction, and have made original contributions to knowledge in their several fields of scholarship.
By virtue of the authority delegated to me and recognizing your high academic achievements, I confer on you, men and women of learning, the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, welcome you to the ancient and universal company of scholars, and entrust to you the free inquiry of future generations.
Candidates for the degrees of Master of Arts, Master of Science, Master of Engineering, or Master in Forest Science will rise.
Mr. President, Fellows of Harvard College, Mr. President, and members of the Board of Overseers. As Dean of the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences, I have the honor to present to you these candidates, all of whom have taken the first commendable step of advanced study in their respective disciplines.
By virtue of the authority delegated to me, I confer on you the degree of Associate in Arts, Bachelor of Liberal Arts, and Master of Liberal Arts, and admit you to the Fellowship of Educated Men and Women.
Candidates for the degree of Associate in Arts, Bachelor of Liberal Arts, and Master of Liberal Arts in Extension Studies will rise.
Mr. President, Fellows of Harvard College, Mr. President, members of the Board of Overseers. As Dean of Continuing Education and University Extension, I have the honor to present to you these students, candidates for the degree of Associate in Arts, Bachelor of Liberal Arts, and Master of Liberal Arts in Extension Studies.
By virtue of the authority delegated to me, I confer on you the degree of Associate in Arts, Bachelor of Liberal Arts, and Master of Liberal Arts in Extension Studies, and admit you to the Fellowship of Educated Men and Women. Mr. Marshall, I would have it known that even occasionally in this modern day of high technology, some pages are left out of even the President's book. And I would like to ask the previous set of candidates for degrees to rise. That is, those who are standing for Master of Arts, Master of Science, Master of Engineering, and Master in Forest Science. I think it's extremely important that you end the day with your actual degrees. Since I have no text, I will make it up. By virtue of every last single bit and ounce of authority delegated to me, and recognizing every single achievement that you may or may not have made, I wish now to confer on you the degrees of Master of Arts, Master of Science, Master of Engineering, and Master in Forest Science. May you do your work well, live your lives well, and take your degrees properly with you.
The Dean of the Faculty of Medicine.
Mr. President, Fellows of Harvard College, Mr. President and members of the Board of Overseers. In the name of the Faculty of Medicine and by its authority, I have the honor to report today that 2 groups of candidates in the fields of medicine and dental medicine have fulfilled the requirements of the faculty for the degrees for which they are recommended. They will be introduced to you by the deans responsible for the programs in which they are enrolled.
Candidates for the degree of Doctor of Dental Medicine, Doctor of Medical Sciences, or Master of Medical Sciences will rise. The Dean of the School of Dental Medicine.
Mr. President, Fellows of Harvard College, Mr. President, members of the Board of Overseers. As Dean of the School of Dental Medicine, I have the honor to present to you these men and women, each of whom has devoted either 5 years to the study of dental medicine or at least 3 years to postdoctoral studies aimed at improving health and the quality of life.
By virtue of the authority delegated to me, I confer on you the degree of Doctor of Dental Medicine, Doctor of Medical Sciences, or Master of Medical Sciences, and declare that you are qualified for practice and research in a demanding branch of medicine.
Candidates for the degree of Doctor of Medicine will rise. The Dean for Academic Programs.
Mr. President, Fellows of Harvard College, Mr. President, members of the Board of Overseers, as Dean for Academic Programs, I have the honor to present to you these men and women who have worked hard and well to prepare themselves for a life of learning and service in medicine.
By virtue of the authority delegated to me, I confer on you the degree of Doctor of Medicine and declare that as physicians, you are ready to engage in an honorable and a merciful calling.
Candidates for the degrees of Master of Theological Studies, Master of Divinity, Master of Theology, or Doctor of Theology will rise. The Dean of the Faculty of Divinity.
Mr. President, Fellows of Harvard College, Mr. President, members of the Board of Overseers. As Dean of the Faculty of Divinity, I have the honor to present to you these men and women, each of whom has devoted at least 2 years to theological studies.
By virtue of authority delegated to me, I confer on you the degree of Master of Theological Studies, Master of Divinity, Master of Theology, or Doctor of Theology, and declare that you are well prepared to foster the health and vitality of communities of faith and to help in shaping the shared values of our broader society.
Candidates for the degree of Doctor of Law, Master of Laws, and Doctor of Juridical Science will rise. The Dean of the Faculty of Law.
Mr. President, Fellows of Harvard College, Mr. President, and members of the Board of Overseers. As Dean of the Faculty of Law, I have the honor to present to you these men and women, each of whom has devoted at least 3 years to legal studies.
By virtue of authority delegated to me, I confer on you the degree of Doctor of Law, Master of Laws, or Doctor of Juridical Science, and declare that you are ready to aid in the shaping and application of those wise restraints that make us free.
Candidates for the degree of Master in Business Administration or Doctor of Business Administration will rise. The Dean of the Faculty of Business Administration.
Mr. President, Fellows of Harvard College, Mr. President, and members of the Board of Overseers, as Dean of the Faculty of Business Administration, I have the honor to present to you these women and men who have worked diligently to learn the art of general management through the study of business administration.
By virtue of authority delegated to me, I confer on you the degree of Master in Business Administration or Doctor of Business Administration, and testify that you are ready to lead people and organizations in enterprises that will serve our society.
Candidates for the several degrees in architecture, landscape architecture, urban planning, and design will rise. The Dean of the Faculty of Design.
Mr. President, Fellows of Harvard College, Mr. President, and members of the Board of Overseers,
as Dean of the Faculty of Design, I have the honor to present to you these men and women, each of whom has qualified for a master's degree in architecture, landscape architecture, urban design or design studies, or for a doctor's degree in design.
By virtue of authority delegated to me, I confer on each of you the degree for which your studies have qualified you, and testify to your competence effectively to shape the space in which we live.
Candidates for the degrees of Master and Doctor of Education will rise. The Dean of the Faculty of Education.
Mr. President and members of the Board of Overseers, Mr. President and Fellows of Harvard College, as Dean of the Faculty of Education, I have the honor to present to you these women and men who, in partnership with us, have prepared themselves to serve as educators.
By virtue of authority delegated to me, I confer on each of you the master's or doctor's degree in education and declare that you are well prepared to guide and serve the learning needs of our contemporary society.
Candidates for the several degrees in public health will rise. The Dean of the Faculty of Public Health.
Mr. President, Fellows of Harvard College, Mr. President and members of the Board of Overseers, as Dean of the Faculty of Public Health, I have the honor to present to you these men and women, each of whom has qualified for a master's degree or doctor's degree in public health.
By virtue of authority delegated to me, I confer on you the degrees in public health for which your studies have qualified you, and declare that you are ready to advance the welfare of peoples everywhere by the prevention of disease and the promotion of health.
Candidates for the degree of Master in Public Administration, Master in Public Policy, Master in City and Regional Planning, Doctor of Public Administration, or Doctor of Public Policy will rise. The Dean of the Faculty of Government.
Mr. President, Fellows of Harvard College, Mr. President, and members of the Board of Overseers. As Dean of the Faculty of Government, I have the honor to present to you these outstanding men and women, each of whom has qualified for a degree in public administration, public policy, or city and regional planning.
By virtue of authority delegated to me, I confer on you the degrees for which your studies have qualified you, and testify that you are well prepared to offer leadership in the quest for enlightened public policy and effective public administration throughout the world.
Candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Arts or of Science will rise. And their chosen representatives, together with candidates for those degrees summa cum laude, will draw near. The President of Radcliffe College.
Mr. President, Fellows of Harvard College, Mr. President and members of the Board of Overseers, I have the honor to present to you these women representing candidates for the first degree in arts or in science.
The Dean of Harvard College.
Mr. President and Fellows of Harvard College, Mr. President and members of the Board of Overseers, as Dean of Harvard College, I have the honor to present to you these graduating men and women representing candidates for the first degree in arts or in sciences.
By virtue of the authority delegated to me, I confer on you the first degree in arts or in science and admit you to the fellowship of educated men and women. Let me say one word. All of you who have received your degrees today in all schools and faculties have earned and deserve them well. But as we were reminded earlier, you have not earned them yourself. I would like to ask all of those receiving degrees today to join in applauding all the members of your families, your friends, and those others with you who have helped you on this way to this point. Now, by virtue of authority delegated to me by the two governing boards, I now confer the following honorary degrees. The University Marshal will introduce the candidates.
The work of our first honorand, a political scientist who has served on a number of national commissions, reminds us of the powerful impact that contemporary scholarship can have on the shaping of public policy. Drawing on many fields of knowledge, his writings have helped reconfigure the study of criminal justice. In his 13 books, both theorists and practitioners have found new insights into the workings of urban politics, the dynamics of organizational cultures and bureaucracies, and the dilemmas facing an open and pluralistic society. With his most recent book, The Moral Sense, he follows Aristotle, David Hume, and Adam Smith as an examiner of the ageless question of civic virtue. An inspiring teacher, he was for 26 years a professor of government at our own university and a notably public-spirited citizen of our academic community. He has since returned to his native state to become the James Collins Professor of Management at the University of California at Los Angeles. Mr. President, let us give a familial welcome to James Q. Wilson.
A scholar of broad vision and deep erudition, scanning our American polis and its polity to enlarge our perspectives on democracy and bureaucracy, on virtue and vice.
The artistic career of our next guest, a great jazz musician, spans 7 decades. Largely self-taught, he rose to prominence during the Harlem Renaissance as a soloist, composer, and arranger. His recordings and orchestrations soon extended his influence throughout this country and Europe. His sumptuous style of big band orchestration helped define the era of swing music. In bands of his own, he introduced and advanced many renowned jazz musicians. His mastery of the saxophone, trumpet, clarinet, and piano made him one of the first major multi-instrumentalists in the annals of jazz. He's especially known for his alto saxophone solos. As a composer of scores for feature films and television, he infused jazz elements into these mainstream media and helped open Hollywood's doors to other musicians of color. In the 1970s, he took up the teaching of jazz at the university level, and at the age of 86, he continues to enlarge the musical form he helped to create, experimenting with new compositional styles in work for large ensembles. Critics and colleagues agree that this protean artist, a hero to generations of musicians, is still at the height of his powers. Mr. President, I am proud to present a jazz legend, Benny Carter.
Master of riffs, Doctor of chords, you have charted the changes of an American art form, creating new harmonies with your flair and your grace.
Mr. President, our third guest is a vital figure in the science of molecular biology and in the art of scientific administration. She is widely admired for her diplomatic leadership in establishing guidelines to help manage and regulate research involving recombinant DNA. Her efforts were critical in establishing public confidence in this dramatic new technology and helped pave the way for the birth of the biotechnology industry. Her own research on repetitive DNA elements has been penetrating and thorough, and her findings have recently helped to elucidate the genetic basis of human disease. She is the recipient of the nation's highest scientific honor, the National Medal of Science, bestowed by the President of the United States. Her experience as a scientific administrator has been greatly valued at Yale, where she earned her doctorate and later served on the corporation, at the Weizmann Institute, where she sits on the Board of Governors, and at the Carnegie Institution of Washington, of which she is now president. Mr. President, I am pleased to introduce Maxine Singer.
Enterprising and versatile biochemist, adroit administrator, eloquent interlocutor at the juncture of science and society.
Few of her children, Mr. President, have had as long or as loving a relationship with this university as our next honorand. To generations of Harvard students, he taught classics, history, and ancient languages. For more than half a century, as deputy to the University Marshal, he formed up our commencement processions. And for no less than 72 years, he has been a regular at our service of morning prayer. As a graduating senior, summa cum laude in classics, he gave the Latin oration at the commencement of 1925. He then earned 2 Oxford degrees as a Rhodes Scholar at Balliol College and returned to Harvard as an instructor. Present at the creation of the residential house system, he was the first head tutor of Lowell House. And after distinguished service as an intelligence officer in World War II, he was master of Kirkland House for almost a decade. He was twice the acting director of the Center for Renaissance Studies at the Villa Itati in Florence, and twice he had charge of the School of Classical Studies at the American Academy in Rome. His histories of ancient Rome and Greece and his Latin grammar are classics in their own right. He is also our foremost authority on the history and lore of Harvard. He is the Emeritus Pope Professor of the Latin Language and Literature, Mason Hammond.
Faltor studiosis, sociis amicus, grammaticae, historiae, morum magister.
We now honor a scholar who represents the rising generation of American educational leaders. An economist, he was born in San Francisco and trained at Stanford, Oxford, and Yale, where he received his PhD in 1974. Appointed to Yale's faculty that same year, he demonstrated his teaching skill in courses ranging from the history of economic thought to microeconomics. His research on technological change and his impact on industrial organizations has earned him an international reputation. For nearly 2 decades, he has had an important voice in the administration of his university, as a member of major policymaking committees, as chairman of its Department of Economics, and as dean of its largest graduate school. Mr. President, let us extend a collegial greeting to Yale's Beinecke Professor of Economics, that great university's 22nd president, Richard Levin.
A worldly philosopher whose wisdom and acumen guide an illustrious institution toward a 4th century of promise fulfilled.
With an unusually broad record of public and social service, our next guest carries on a long-standing family tradition combining religious and educational leadership. His mother was the dean of a historically black college, while his father, a Baptist minister, also served as president of Florida A&M University and Florida Memorial College. For more than 20 years, our guest has been pastor of Bright Hope Baptist Church in Philadelphia, where his father and grandfather also ministered. Encouraged to run for Congress in 1978, He became the first black member to chair the Democratic Caucus, to serve as Majority Whip, and to chair the House Budget Committee. Known as a consensus builder and as a strong proponent of aid to higher education, he also wrote legislation imposing economic sanctions against South Africa. In 1991, he relinquished his congressional seat to assume the presidency of the United Negro College Fund, an umbrella organization providing financial support to 41 independent black institutions. While continuing in that post, he is currently serving as presidential advisor on Haiti, assisting in the reshaping of American policy toward that vexed nation. Mr. President, I am privileged to present the Honorable William H. Gray.
Exemplary in service to church and state, you invigorate American education and public affairs in a time of challenge and of need.
Events in troubled nations around the globe, Rwanda, Bosnia, Afghanistan, Iraq, Haiti, and many more, have loosed a flood tide of refugees without precedent in history. Our next honorand travels constantly in aid of the world's displaced peoples. Born in Tokyo, she graduated from a Roman Catholic university in that city and took advanced degrees in political science at Georgetown and the University of California at Berkeley. Returning to Japan, she distinguished herself as a scholar of international relations, and in 1989, she was named Dean of Foreign Studies at Sophia University, Tokyo. In her parallel career as a diplomat, she was the first woman to hold a senior position in the Japanese mission to the United Nations. And in 1991, she was elected United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. In that capacity, she monitors relief, resettlement, and rehabilitation efforts, and insistently argues the need to integrate these measures with durable political settlements, protecting the rights of all individuals and ethnic groups. Mr. President, I proudly present the Honorable Sadako Ogata.
Scholar, diplomat, citizen of the world, an impassioned advocate seeking refuge for the uprooted and dignity for the displaced.
A native of Illinois who graduated from Harvard College in 1929, summa cum laude in mathematics. Our next honorand initially hoped to become a doctor. Instead, he became a lawyer and judge who would leave an enduring imprint on American life. After earning his LLB at Harvard Law School, he devoted 25 years to the practice and teaching of law, including 9 years as the Mayo Clinic's resident counsel. In 1959, he was named to the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals, and in 1970, he was appointed to the Supreme Court. In nearly 35 years on the federal bench, he has eloquently defended the civil liberties enshrined in our Constitution and Bill of Rights. Noted for his meticulous scholarship and attention to detail, he is nevertheless impatient with legalistic abstractions that ignore the concrete realities of ordinary existence. In his own words, "I am not a jurisprude." Famously hardworking, studiously impartial, he concludes his distinguished career on the High Court this month. Perhaps no more fitting encomium can be given him than that of Justice Holmes said of Justice Brandeis, "There goes a really good man." Mr. President, the Honorable Harry Blackmun.
Ardent exponent of the spirit of liberty, courageous voice of conscience, tireless guardian of humane justice in a free society.
As a student at Harvard College, the last of our guests concentrated in government, graduating with honors. After a tour of duty as an Army reporter in Vietnam, he worked as an investigative journalist and editorial writer at the Nashville Tennessean, at the same time pursuing further study at Vanderbilt University's Schools of Divinity and Law. He ran for Congress in 1976 and served 4 terms as a representative from Tennessee. Following in the footsteps of his father, he then won a seat in the United States Senate and was decisively re-elected 6 years later. Acclaimed for his efforts on behalf of arms control and health care, he has also played influential roles in such evolving fields as information technology and ecology. His first book, Earth in the Balance, outlines an international plan of action to confront the global environmental crisis. Published 2 years ago, it became a bestseller. In his present position, he helps plan and steer a wide range of programs and policies. A member of the 25th year class of 1969, a Harvard parent, and a recent member of our Honorable and Reverend Board of Overseers, he has given unselfishly of his time to his university as he has to his country. Let us greet the Vice President of the United States, the Honorable Al Gore.
Statesman of integrity, friend of our planet, voyager on cyberspatial highways, a stalwart and thoughtful presence at the epicenter of our nation's public life. And now, in the name of this Society of Scholars, I declare that these men and women are entitled to the rights and privileges pertaining to their several degrees, and that their names are to be forever borne on its rolls of honorary members.
Let us pray. O gracious and generous God, before whom both time and eternity stand in reverence and in awe, behold us now in our little moment, and sustain us by thy presence. Upon this ancient fellowship of memory and of hope, we ask a blessing, and grant that we may live and love and learn in the power of thy promise of an abundant, fruitful life. Where we are fearful, give us courage. Where we are prideful, make us humble. Upon these young, confirm the spirit of adventure, and upon the rest of us, a quiet, grateful faith. And upon this ancient college, formed in faith and nourished by truth, grant that peace which surpasses understanding. Mindful of our unmerited mercies and grateful for thy grace, we commit ourselves now to thy care and to the service of one another. And this we do in the name of the great God, out of whose love we are created, and by whose light we walk. Amen.
The meeting is adjourned.
And the pealing of the bell, is it almost 11:45? It's
Yeah.
a little bit early.
And a few minutes from now, the other bells, as you mentioned earlier, will join in the tintintabulation.
Bells all over Cambridge, and that will include the famous bells in Lowell House that are originally from the Danilov Monastery in Moscow, and
They include
sometimes some talk of trying to get them back to where they belong now. But
Well, clearly there are many things that make that tricky, but one is the sheer mass. They weigh 26 tons,
my
those
heavens,
bells.
that's extraordinary. Very quiet commencement, in the sense there weren't any sort of beach balls bouncing amongst the undergraduates. There weren't armbands protesting anything. There weren't processions with placards. We have a very different climate here at Harvard University. I don't think it has to do with any less concern about the state of the world, but rather I think the direction of concern into a multitude of volunteer activities. If you were to look at the future of this graduating class and the sorts of things they've done while at Harvard and the things they intend to do as they go forth, there's a lot of commitment to the voluntary sphere of our public life.
Oh, it's enormous. 70% of the student body is engaged in service projects of one kind or another. So, Diana?
Dudley,
It's been lovely.
A delight to be with
Till
you
next
here.
year.
Until next year.
High above Tercentenary Theater.
To
Courtside.
the age that is waiting before.
Yes.
Thanks very much.
So,
Goodbye.
Goodbye.